Hi friendlies, I'm Carolyn and this is my RV life. Today I'm going to answer a question that I get asked a lot. Why did I choose a Class C to live in instead of a Class A, a trailer, or a van? That's a question a lot of you are asking yourselves as you think about coming out and living this lifestyle, or even just spending a lot more time traveling in a tiny home on wheels. I'm going to share with you all of the research and all of the things that I have learned being on the road for 2 years living in a Class C. Those of you who've been following me for a while know that I started out in a 29-foot, a Fleetwood Jamboree, and I recently, just a few months ago, downsized to a 24-foot Winnebago Itasca Spirit. And I did a lot of research before I hit the road, before I bought my first RV, and then again, when I was thinking about downsizing. I'm going to break it down and give you pros and cons in my experience and in my research for a Class A, a Class C, a Class B, a Class B+. I'm going to cover fifth wheels, travel trailers, passenger vans, and I'll probably even touch a little bit on skoolies and cargo vans and horse trailers and all the different things that I have seen people living in since I have been on the road the last 2 years. So grab a pen and paper now, because this video is going to be packed with a ton of information that you're going to need if you're considering living on the road, living a nomadic lifestyle, or even if you just want to get a travel trailer or an RV or a van to travel more in. All right, so let's get started. Before you ever start shopping for a motorhome or a vehicle to live in or travel in, the very first thing you need to think about, and I want you to sit down and really do some soul searching and really think about what kind of lifestyle you're going to have living on the road or traveling more on the road. That's going to be really important in deciding what you want to live in. How are you going to live out here? What is your budget going to be? So let's start with that. What's your budget going to be? Not only your upfront budget, what you have now to purchase a vehicle to live in or a motorhome, but what's your budget going to be once you get on the road? That's going to be a huge factor in determining what you want to live in. Because the cost of living in a Class A versus a van is going to be a dramatic difference. So that's definitely going to be a consideration. So number one, in considering what kind of lifestyle your nomadic life is going to be, the very first thing to consider is budget. And I'm going to talk about that as I go through the pros and cons of all the different types of motorhomes and trailers, okay? So number one is budget. Number two, are you going to travel a lot, or are you going to stay in one spot? Because again, that's really going to determine what is going to be the best for you to live in. And that's another thing I want to say. I'm sharing my experience with you as someone who's been living in a Class C and kind of my own personal preferences. But as I share the pros and cons, I'm just sharing what I have learned along the way. I'm not an expert in living in anything, much less a Class A or a trailer or a van, something I've never lived in. But what I want to do is share my experience, share the things that I have learned along the way so that you can decide what is the best thing for you. And sitting down and really soul searching and getting honest with yourself about what your lifestyle is going to be living on the road is the very first step in making sure that you're successful, you're happy, you're free, you're peaceful living on the road. And many of you who've been following me for a while know that I have serious van envy. I shopped for vans. I really wish I could live in a van, but I had to get honest with myself and really just dig down and say, you know what, I'd love to be that minimalist, but the bottom line is I wouldn't be happy in a van. And this is exactly what I would encourage you to do right now. Just really get honest with yourself about what your lifestyle, what your budget is going to be on the road, how much traveling you're going to do. Are you going to stay in one place? Are you going to travel? Do you want to sightsee? What is your reason for living in an RV or a mobile home? That's really going to help you determine what type of vehicle you want to live in. So are you going to travel, or are you going to stay in one spot? That's going to dictate maybe the size of vehicle, what the cost of the maintenance is, the ongoing cost of ownership, and gas mileage, and all kinds of things. Number 3, are you going to be boondocking like I do, driving out to remote places and living on public lands, or are you going to be staying mostly in RV parks and campgrounds? That's going to make a huge difference in the type of vehicle that you choose. You might decide you need a 4-wheel drive, and you're not going to get that in a Class A or a Class C or even a Class B, so that might mean you need a truck and a trailer. If you're going to stay in campgrounds, a lot of campgrounds have 30-foot limits, so that's going to determine the size of trailer or Class C or Class A that you get. I was in a national park in the Smoky Mountains, and it was tiny, and there was not room for anything bigger than a 30-foot RV. So if you're going to be traveling and going to RV parks and a lot of the national parks and a lot of the campgrounds, you're going to need to pay attention to what size vehicle you get. So again, if you're going to be staying in RV parks, if you're going to be going to campgrounds, if you're going to be boondocking, that's going to determine the type of vehicle that you're going to get. And again, I'm going to go through the pros and cons of all the different vehicle types in a minute to help you decide. I think the 4th lifestyle consideration, and this is a big one for me and I think for a lot of people, is to really get honest with yourself about how much time you want to spend outside. My goal of living in an RV was to spend more time in nature. I really envisioned just being outside and hiking and backpacking and sitting outside, but the reality is I work. The reality is that I still am a digital nomad. I work 8, 10, 12 hours a day on my computer, and I can't do that outside. So I am spending a lot more time inside my RV than I really envisioned I would. And I kind of knew that, and that's part of the reason I chose a Class C. So how much time are you going to spend outside, and how much time do you want to spend outside? For me, I was thinking about buying a van because I was like, well, that'll force me. It's such a small space. To me, a lot of vans feel almost cave-like. I was like, that'll force me to be outside more. But the reality is I have to work. And I would still be cooped up inside a small space 8 to 12 hours a day, and I would have been miserable. So that's another consideration. Are you working? Do you need office space? Are you a digital nomad? Are you going to need space to spread out? Because I do work. I like having all the open space around me. I like having the windows so I can kind of still feel like I'm really close to nature, and I still can see the beautiful views around me even if I'm inside working. So that's number 4. How much time do you really think you're going to be spending outside? That's going to dictate, I think, how much comfort you're going to need in the vehicle that you choose to live in. If you really want to go minimalist and really kind of just feel like you're camping all the time, then a van might be for you. But if you really want the comforts of home, if you want the space, if you want the air conditioning, if you want the heat, the furnace, and the shower, then you're definitely going to want to go with more of a motorhome, like a trailer or a Class A or a Class C. The 5th consideration I think is a really important one is, do you have pets, or do you plan on getting a pet, especially a dog? That's going to be, depending on the size dog you get, even in my 24-foot Class C with a 55-pound dog, we're stepping over each other. And I guess that's another thing. I went to dogs before other people. How many people are you? Are you a couple? Are you solo? Are you going to have kids? Are you going to have pets? That's all going to be a consideration in determining what kind and what size vehicle you need. For me, and for a lot of people who have pets, if you have a dog, a bigger dog, or 2 dogs, a van may not work for you. I do know people who have good sized 55, 60-pound dogs in vans, and they do very well. But that wouldn't work for me. We'd be tripping over each other. And the people I do know who have dogs in vans, the dogs do spend most of the time outside. But that's just something to think about. For me, again, because I have the dog and it's basically almost like having another person inside, I wanted something a little bit bigger that he could move around in, that we could move around in together. So sleeping, one of the things that I was looking at in my first round of choosing an RV to live in, I really was looking at something smaller, Well, okay, yeah, I was looking at something smaller, and I was considering something with the overhead bed, but Capone sleeps with me, and he's 13. You know, he wouldn't be able to, it's a ladder to get up to those overhead beds. He's 55 pounds. I couldn't lift him up every night and lift him down when he wants to get down, so that wasn't going to work for me. So I needed to consider his sleeping arrangements when I chose an RV to live in, and that's something to consider. The other big, huge consideration, if you have pets, is how much you're going to be going out without your pet and needing to leave them inside. If you're going to go shopping, if you're going to go to the movies, if you're going to go sightseeing, if you're going to go to a museum, if you're going to go hiking, and like me, your dog can't always go with you, and you're going to need to leave your dog or your cat inside your vehicle for a few hours, you have to think about the weather. In the summer, when it's 85, 90 degrees, a RV, a trailer, is going to be a lot cooler than a van, which is basically a vehicle. Some people do insulate their vans, but it's still going to be a lot hotter inside a van than it's going to be inside a Class C or a Class A or a trailer. They're not steel ovens, basically. So that is going to be a huge consideration for you. How much time are you going to need to leave your pet inside, maybe while you're out sightseeing or doing the things that you need to do? I think I covered all of the lifestyle considerations. Now I want you to really think about that. Really answer these questions for yourself before you start shopping for something to live in. With that done, now I'm going to get into the pros and cons of all the different types of motorhomes. Explore all the different types of motorhomes and trailers and vans that you might want to live in. Make sure you have that pen and paper handy. I've got a lot to cover. I'm going to start with Class A's and Class C's. I'm going to lump them together and then talk about the differences because they have so many similarities. I'm going to start with the pros, and then I'm going to talk about the cons. First pro of both a Class A and a Class C, in my opinion, and I guess a B and a B plus as well, is that it's all in one. That you have everything, you have your car and your home all in one vehicle. Some people might disagree with me on that and think that there's actually a benefit to having two completely separate systems. But to me, I think it's more convenient just to have everything all in one. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute when it comes to a truck and a trailer, because there are definitely some cons to that as well. But for me, I kind of just like having everything all together. And having it all together, all in one piece, means that I can actually tow another vehicle behind me. So if I did want to get a smaller car, if I wanted to get a boat, I could still tow something behind me. If I have a truck and a trailer, I'm not going to be able to do that. So for me, just having everything all in one, even though they are completely different systems, they have to be maintained separately. The engine is an auto repair, the coach is an RV repair. To me, there just seems to be some convenience in having everything all in one. The second thing I really love about a Class A or a Class C or even a travel trailer is how roomy it is. It's open, it's airy, you have a lot of space, you've got a lot of headroom inside that you're not going to get in a van or even a Class B like a Motor Trek or a Pleasureway. And I'm going to be talking about a B plus here a lot. So let me define what a B plus is. To me, a B is like a Road Trek or a similar type van where it really is just a small van with a little extra headroom, but it's fully self-contained. The new B pluses that they're making are actually just like tiny Class C's. They really look like Class C's, but they're considered a B plus. So that's what I mean when I say a B plus. So I like the roominess. I like how open it is. I like that I have windows all the way around. That's a huge benefit to me of having a Class A or a Class C. You're also going to have more storage in a trailer or a Class A or a Class C than you're going to have in a van or a truck camper. Another pro is that you're going to have a full kitchen. I'm pretty sure in all Class A's, Class C's, and the travel trailers and fifth wheels, you're going to have a full kitchen. You're going to have a stove, you're going to have a refrigerator, you're going to have an oven, which is something that was really important to me as someone who cooks a lot, and you're going to have a microwave, which I never use, except for storage for Capone's food. Almost almost a full-size refrigerator. It's an RV full-size refrigerator. It's not a home full-size refrigerator by any means, but I have a refrigerator and a freezer and all the amenities of home. So yeah, so in a Class A, Class C, and a travel trailer, you're going to have a full kitchen, and you're not going to get that in a Class B, and you're not going to get that in a van. You're also going to get a full bathroom. You're going to get a toilet, you're going to get a sink, and you're going to get a shower. If that's something that's important to you, that's going to be a huge consideration. You're definitely going to get all of that, all of the amenities of home. You're going to have a furnace. You're going to have an air conditioner. You're going to have a water heater. You're going to have all of the same things in your Class A, Class C, travel trailer, or fifth wheel that you have at your regular home. It really is just a fully self-contained tiny home on wheels, and that's a huge benefit to me. I think the thing that really convinced me, though, the biggest benefit to me of a Class A or a Class C or even a Class B or a Class B plus is the fact that you can go from your driving space to your living space. They're all connected. You do not have to exit the vehicle to go from your living space to your driving space or vice versa. That was a huge one for me. So I want to talk a little bit about safety. For me, that was a huge safety concern. I didn't want to have to be like, imagine I'm out in the boonies in the middle of nowhere, which is how I knew I wanted to travel, and something happened. And that did happen to me one time early on because I made a rookie mistake. I did have to leave a spot. Imagine, and I mean, I was surrounded by a lot of big trucks who were intimidating me on purpose. Imagine if I was in a trailer and I actually had to go outside to get in my vehicle to drive away. I don't think anything would have happened, honestly, but it makes me feel safer knowing that I can go from my bed to my driver's seat without having to exit my vehicle. That is a huge, huge benefit for me. And for a lot of women who are going to be traveling alone, I know that is a huge benefit for them. And you're going to get that in a van, in a Class B, Class A, Class C. You're not going to get that in a travel trailer or a truck camper. So that is a huge consideration. I did see a video last summer of a couple in Florida who were intimidated by locals in the middle of the night, and they felt trapped in their tiny little bubble. I mean, that's what it is. What do? You're trapped in this bubble. To me, you're helpless. At least for me, I can get up, jump in the driver's seat and drive away. They literally had to wait for this moron who was intimidating them to leave, jump out, get in their truck, leave their trailer behind, and take off as fast as they can and come back the next day in the safety of daylight to get their vehicle, to get their trailer. I want to say, a lot of you who've been with me for a while know I talk a lot about safety and fear, and I want to say, as a woman traveling alone for 2 years, it is safe out here. It really is safe out here, and the longer I'm on the road, the more safe I feel, and the more things like that don't matter, and so I think, yeah, okay, maybe someday I might get a trailer. But especially in the beginning, if you're going to be a little intimidated, if it's going to make you feel safer, that is a huge benefit. Being able to go from the living space to the cab of the truck without going outside is huge. The other benefit for that is just simple. If you're traveling, if you're on the road and traveling from point A to point B and you have to go to the bathroom, you want to get a snack, you want to just pull over, you don't have to get out of the vehicle, go around, unlock the trailer and go inside. And that's also a huge benefit for me. When I'm traveling, I can just pull off anywhere and just go in the back and go to the bathroom, make a sandwich, make lunch, or Capone can go lay on the bed. To me, just having that open space between the truck cabin and the living space is a huge benefit for me. And you're going to get that in all of your Class A's, Class C's, Class B's, and a van. And you're not going to get that in a truck camper or a travel trailer. The other pro of Class A's and Class C's specifically is that they're cheap if you buy them used, especially Class A's and especially the bigger Class A's. I noticed both times when I was looking, the bigger Class A's are extremely inexpensive up front to purchase. So that's another benefit, but I'm going to talk about a con to that here in a second. Well, I might as well talk about the con because I'm getting into the cons now. The con, though, to that is they might be cheap up front, but they're going to nickel and dime you, actually more like, $100 bill and $100 bill and $1,000 bill to you to death, not nickel and dime. They are so expensive to maintain. And that's one of the biggest cons of a Class A or a Class C. Even if you buy a newer one, most of them are made like crap. They are not made they're made to be, they're not made to live in, for one thing. So when you're buying anything to live in, that you definitely need to remember that. They are not made to live in. They're made to use for like 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks a year. And they're meant to drive on highways and drive from RV park to RV park. That's what they're made for. So if you're going to be beating it up a little bit more like I do, taking it off-road and boondocking and living in it, that's a huge consideration. And I talked in the beginning about your lifestyle and how you're going to live out here and what your budget is. That's going to be a huge consideration. If you are going to be boondocking and taking your Class C or Class A off-road, be prepared to have a huge emergency budget and be prepared for a lot of high maintenance costs, okay? So that's going to have to be part of your budget. If you're just going to be staying in one spot more, if you're going to be just driving a little bit from one RV park to another, your expenses may not be quite as big as they're going to be for someone who's really kind of beating it up, but Class A's and Class C's are notorious for being expensive to maintain. And they're also, another con is that you can't just take it to any auto repair shop to get them fixed. I learned that the hard way with my first RV, Matilda, 29 foot. You usually have to find a truck repair shop because not all shops have the hydraulic lift big enough to lift a giant Class A or a Class C. So that's another consideration. It can be a real pain in the butt to try to find somebody to work on it. Even in Matilda, all I needed was a tire fixed, and I think I was outside of Memphis, and I went to 3 different shops, and none of them had a hydraulic lift that could lift up my RV to change a tire. Again, maintenance costs, the convenience of maintaining it are all going to be really big considerations. And when you've got a Class A or a Class C, it's going to be more challenging than if you're in a van or a truck and trailer. Next con is gas mileage. You're never going to get more than 7-8 miles a gallon on a Class A or a Class C, I don't think. I mean, I don't care what you do. I thought about, doing some things on my Class C, getting a bigger muffler, some other things that might improve my gas mileage. But in my 29-foot, 23-year-old Class C, I got about 7 miles to the gallon. In my new one, it looks like so far I might be getting about 8 or 9. But if you're on a budget and you want to travel, a Class A or a Class C is going to just gobble up your money in the gas tank. So that's definitely something else to consider. They are gas hogs. Driving them, honestly, even the 29-foot Class C RV, it didn't take me too long to learn how to drive it. I mean, within an hour, 2 hours, I was getting pretty comfortable with it. But a lot of you have been following me for a while. You know that, it took me a little bit longer than that. My saying was, you run into things and stuff falls off. Learning how to manage 29 feet clearance. One of the first times I went into a gas station, my back end, I wasn't used to that giant back end, and I lost my bumper. So there is a little bit of a learning curve to driving a Class A and a Class C. We're going to get into travel trailers in a minute because that's even going to be worse. If you're intimidated, you're a shy driver, or you're a timid driver, that might be a deal breaker for you. You've got vertical clearance, you've got horizontal clearance, you've got ground clearance, you've got a lot of different things to consider. And especially in a Class A, to me, you just feel like you're driving a giant box. So a Class A, Class C is going to be a little intimidating to drive. I still don't really like driving even the 24-foot Class C around town. It kind of restricts me from sightseeing. It restricts me from going some places. When I was east of the Mississippi, there was a drive that I wanted to take that had a 20-foot limit. You couldn't take a rig up it more than 20 feet, and even in 24 feet, I'm going to be restricted. RV parks have a 30-foot limit. A lot of the tourist places, parking is going to be hard. There are going to be roads that you're not going to be able to go at, especially windy, hilly roads. When you're going down mountains and up mountains, you're going to be restricted in a larger vehicle, whether it's a travel trailer or a Class A or a Class C. So that's definitely, again, going back to your lifestyle, how you want to live, how much sightseeing, how much traveling you want to do. Those are going to be some pretty big considerations when you're deciding on a vehicle to live in. Why did I choose a Class C instead of a Class A? Well, I liked that it at least looked like a truck. A Class C is built on a van chassis, either Chevy or Ford usually. So that means that I can find any truck dealer that works on Chevy or Ford, and as long as they have a hydraulic lift big enough, I can find somebody to work on it. And I don't know, there was some comfort in that it looked like a truck, that it wasn't a giant box, and just for me, it just felt more I don't know, it felt more mobile, maybe more nomadic, I don't know, than a giant boxy house on wheels. I don't know. That was just a personal preference of mine. There is one thing, though, I really loved about the Class A's that you don't get in a Class C, and especially my new one that has all the storage overhead, is that giant front windshield. That is such a nice benefit of the Class A, where I could, if I had it, I could sit in my dinette while I work and I could look out that giant pane window at any view. I don't really have much of a view out of the windshield when I'm sitting in the living space of my Class C. So that's another benefit of a Class A. If the view matters to you, if you're not going to be moving around a lot, if you're going to be sitting in one spot and you really want the big open area and lots of views, that might be something else for you to consider. I think another pro of Class A's, Class C's, and a trailer, how much capacity you have if you want a boondock or dry camp. I've got 40-gallon water tanks, 40-gallon holding tanks. I've got the refrigerator, the freezer, like I said. I've got a big propane tank. So I am, with a bigger rig, with a Class A, Class C, or a trailer, you are going to have more amenities on board that probably would allow you to dry camp or to boondock longer than you could in a van. It also depends. I mean, if you're extremely minimalist, and you don't need a lot of people can go out in a van and live out in the for weeks or a month even. But for me, I need things like fresh produce, and so the refrigerator is important to me. A lot of people who live in vans don't even have refrigeration, or they just have a very small one. If you do want to go out and boondock and really just have all the amenities at home, again, I think a Class A, Class C, or a trailer is really going to be the best bet for you. It really comes down to comfort, I think, and what you know you can live with. Okay, we really covered a lot of information today. I started out by giving you the top 5 or 6 lifestyle considerations that you absolutely have to do to sit down and figure out how you're going to live in an RV, motorhome, or whatever vehicle you choose. And then I went through all the pros and cons of living in a Class A and a Class C. I also touched on Class B, Class B+, a little bit about truck campers, and a little bit about fifth wheels and trailers. So this first part was jam-packed with a ton of information. I hope you took a lot of notes, and I hope it gave you a lot to think about. Be sure to stay tuned for part 2. If you're seeing this video the day it goes out, be sure to subscribe below and click the little bell to be notified when part 2 is released. If you're seeing this video after the day it was released, be sure to click up here and there will be a link to part 2 of the video. It'll also be in the end screen. And the second part of this video is going to give you all the pros and cons of living in a Class B, a B+, a fifth wheel, a travel trailer. I'm even going to talk a little bit about living in cargo trailers and skoolies and all the other things that I have seen people live in. And it's going to be jam-packed with even more information for anybody who is thinking about living or traveling more in a motorhome or a tiny home on wheels. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you click the link above. You don't want to miss part 2. And I hope this has given you a lot to think about. I hope you took a lot of notes, and I'll see you in part 2. In the meantime, be happy, be free, and be kind. I'll see you soon.